which we call the Twilight Zone.
Steve Kerr, and you look at Steph and Clay and even Draymond with his lack of
Is it 2 in a row? 7 points for him. The twirling Doncic. Melting into the defense. The front carry. Strikes. Swing, fly ball. Well hit left center. Ronald Acuna has home. Rookie rushing record for the Steelers.
Look, he came into this game averaging 3.67 yards per carry. 42nd out of 49 qualified rushers.
Freeze to begin the third quarter. It has been incredible. Here he comes again. Oh, goodness. And a Greek basketball god. And he was a great guy to teach
Rally Towel fam, welcome to the show. Carl, thank you for liking the video. We're doing things a little bit differently tonight. It was a crazy week in the NFL. There was a lot of shenanigans going on. We got a big announcement for you tonight, so stay tuned for that. But first and foremost, one of the members of the show has to pay up. I don't know if anybody saw it, but on Twitter, Corey and I had a little wager, and so I'm gonna give the floor to Corey and let him do his thing.
I appreciate that, Bob. Ladies and gentlemen, Alabama did not make it into the tournament, into the college football playoff, and I have to pay up. And now is a monologue by yours truly. Good things about Russell Wilson. I have to do 2 minutes and lay it all out here. 2 minutes about good things about our beloved mascot of this show, Russell Wilson. We'll start the clock right now. So for those of you that are unaware, Russell Wilson, like 75% of this podcast, was actually born in Cincinnati, Ohio. Pretty amazing thing there. Christ Hospital in Cincinnati, Ohio. Russell Wilson was born. Also, he is 5'11". Did you know that? 5'11". So doesn't have to deal with all the cumbersome things that come with being over 6 foot. I mean, could you imagine a pro quarterback over 6 foot? The amount of just women beating off of him. He just get off of me. All of these ladies coming out. He doesn't have those problems. He's 5'11". He doesn't have to deal with it. Walter Payton Man of the Year in 2020. Fantastic accolade. One of the most prestigious accolades in the NFL. The guy's been to 9 Pro Bowls. All right. I mean, we all know how legitimate, how much thought is put into this in terms of making a Pro Bowl and how much it really means as to how good you are. So 9 Pro Bowls, that's fantastic for Russell Wilson. Super Bowl champion, right? This guy's just doing stuff other people don't do, right? Setting himself apart. For instance, he is the first NFL quarterback to throw 4 interceptions and the game-winning touchdown in one game. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that just silly Willy? He's also been married twice, so he's convinced 2 women that it's safe to live with him. Congrats to him on that. He's also extremely diligent about his flexibility. He's been known to lead stretching sessions on transatlantic flights. He's all about his team. Shouting out run or pass. I mean, that's stuff they do in Pop Warner. This guy's just instilling ethics in himself from day one, and he's carrying it through his tremendous career in the NFL. And finally, I'm going to leave you here with this quote from Russell Wilson. He says, "Every day I wake up, and that's my goal, to be on a constant quest for knowledge and do something different. Being unique and being uncommon." Well, Russell, congratulations. You've achieved those goals, sir. Congratulations. Bobby, welcome back to the program. Todd,
hello.
Aaron, welcome in. Thank you. Thank you.
Go brush your teeth. That tastes like vinegar.
Thank you so much.
That was
boy.
So chat, the other end of that bet was I was going to have to do a 2-minute spiel on Pete Carroll in the same fashion if Alabama ended up getting in. So thank God that didn't happen.
Thank God. Thank God Alabama didn't get in, right? Just in general, right?
I've never been.
About that.
I've never been so happy to lose a bet in my entire life. I was just like, all right, I've seen this fucking movie before. I know that they're going to use any excuse to put Alabama back in the college football playoff scenario. And I'm so happy I lost that bet.
No, for sure.
We're happy for you.
Thanks, Aaron. Thanks.
Yeah, it was great.
It's good to be back, guys. I missed you.
Yeah, man.
I feel like the four of us has not been on all at once in a long time.
It's been over a month, fellas. It's
What?
been over a month since the four of us have been on a podcast together.
That's crazy.
Was it Halloween?
Yeah.
Was it the Halloween episode?
It was the Halloween episode. That's correct.
Wow.
Piece of trivia.
We've had.
the candy
Here's the
draft.
thing. Yeah, we had some really great guests in between that time. We've learned a lot about each other outside of doing the podcast, right? We're continuing to build this beautiful community that we have, and we've been able to bring these great people in, and it's capped off by a really, really good passive aggressive complimentary session to the strangest guy in the NFL, and I really like that.
What? Thank you. First of all, I'm glad you liked it. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I learned something new during that. I didn't know he was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. Pretty interesting fun fact.
I believe I did hear that somewhere.
Also, Christ Hospital in Cincinnati. Also, didn't know that he had thrown 4 interceptions and a game-winning touchdown in the same game.
I don't know if you saw off the side. I laughed really hard when you read that fact off because
that's freaking crazy.
That's a one-of-a-kind statistic right there.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing.
I didn't know he was married twice.
Yeah, right. 2 years.
Have you never seen Draft Day with his at that point in time? That was his fiance who became his first wife, where she's celebrating, she's ecstatic, they're together, and then 2 years later.
I literally thought you were about the movie Draft Day. I was like, I've seen Draft Day.
No,
I did too. I thought that's what he was talking about.
No, sorry. No disrespect to Kevin Costner. Him and his fiance at the time, she's ecstatic. He's been drafted. He's been drafted into the NFL. This is great. We're going to do all these great things. And then 2 years later, they were divorced. And a year later, he's married to Sierra.
2 years later, my goodies. Yeah. Good for you.
The Russell Wilson Draft Day comparison, right? Drafted by the Seahawks from Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Nobody went to his birthday party.
I mean, it just keeps going.
Here's a little trivia question for you boys, and I'm interested to see if you get this right. I found this out yesterday. So Russell Wilson was drafted in 2012 by the Seattle Seahawks. He sat out a season and then became the starting quarterback in 2013. Mm-hmm. Who was the starting quarterback the year before Russell Wilson became the starting quarterback for the Seahawks?
Matt Flynn.
No. Great guess, though.
Wasn't that who they signed that offseason then? Is that what? Okay.
That is correct. Yeah, that's a great guess.
Wasn't Hasselbeck, right?
No, it was not. Hasselbeck was retired by them. This is a name drop, and then I'm gonna share a little sad quip about it at the end. But I want to see if you guys
was it the guy? Did he play for the Bills?
Is it EJ Manuel?
No, I was gonna say JP. What was his name? Like JP Lossman or something? Or what was it?
No, it was not. It was not JP Lossman. Steve, it was not Trent Dilfer. Also a great guess. So
I have to get this. No, this is who the fuck it is.
It is who the fuck it is.
I know.
Give us a college or give us something. Yeah. When was that guy drafted?
So this guy was drafted in 2006. He was originally at Arkansas and then went to Alabama State.
Ryan Mallett. No, never mind. Just say Ryan
Mallett. That was
Drafted by the Vikings in 2006, was there until 2010. Actually started for the Vikings in a wild card game in 2008.
What the fuck?
Was the Seahawks quarterback. I'm sorry, I misspoke. He was the Seahawks quarterback in 2011. Then they drafted Wilson the next year, and he became the starter right away.
Oh, wait, no, that's not right. Oh, fuck me.
Ladies and gentlemen, Burt Bacharach.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm out.
The answer is Tavares Jackson.
Yeah.
I never would have gotten that. I never would have gotten
that. Another fact about Tavares Jackson is he actually passed away at the very beginning of COVID from a car accident. Sad thing there, but Jesus. I did not know that. I looked it up. I'm looking it up, and I'm like, the first thing that came up is Tavares Jackson dead. Like, Why are people?
All right,
I mean,
Buzz
his
Ellison.
career fell off fast, but yeah, found out died in a plane or a car crash, April 2020. Rest in peace.
R.I.P. Dude.
All right,
Jesus.
well, that's all the time we have for tonight.
Well, let's
Thanks
have
for
a
tuning
good.
in.
Yeah, let's have a good show, huh?
Also, Bobby, great hat, man. That is some fucking fitwear right there.
Thank you, sir.
Ah,
Thank you. I think I've got 2 Cavs hats. I got a couple Pacers hats too. I wanted.
Let's
to
go,
bust out something a little
Cavs!
different. I've been wearing a lot of baseball hats, so I figured I'd switch it up. It's basketball season, so had to bust it out. Mafia Sports Report. Thanks for hosting again. Coming in with a comment here. The Bills losing Von Miller for the rest of the season. Says it really stings. Next man up for the Bills, which has been the case all season long. They're facing a little bit of adversity on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, Josh Allen's been banged up the last couple of weeks. They've got to fight through some adversity, moving towards the playoffs. So what do you guys, we can get into it here in a little bit.
Yeah, we can get into it when we touch on we're going to be going through all the games this week as always. And we get to the Bills and Jets. We'll dive in a little bit more on that, Bobby.
Oh yeah.
What are we looking at? How are the standings? That's what I want to know.
So we had a great week. Obviously, we all have an additional column for the stat sheet this week.
It's just a push
with that tie.
We didn't tie.
I'm not gonna count it, but just making fun of the Commanders and the Giants for that terrible game that we had to watch. So the standings are as follows. Well, we'll just go with the records last week. I was at 12-2. Todd and Aaron, you guys were at 11-3. And Corey, with the almost perfect week at 13-1.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Corey made up some ground. We'll just put it that way.
Are we tied now? I don't
Aaron
like
and
that.
Corey are tied.
I don't like
We're
that.
number 1 in the picks this season.
Love it.
Todd, I got a game back on you. So Todd's sitting in third at 112. So standings are 117-59. Corey and Aaron. Todd is at 112-64, and I am at 112-60. That can't be right. That was the math I was trying to figure out. How do we have the same amount of wins? But I went back like 5 weeks. I've been doing this for like 20 minutes, and I can't figure out how Todd and I have the same amount of wins.
Oh boy!
So I'll have to go back and check that.
There we go.
It might have been one of my drunk evenings of some incorrect math. So I'm gonna have to.
That doesn't happen here.
No, not at all. So,
Yeah, no,
but anyways, Todd, you got a 1-game lead on me. I'm still in the cellar. I got some work to do. So,
made up some ground this week, though.
Yeah, made up some ground this week. I got a game back on you guys, but unfortunately, I couldn't do anything with Corey. We got some stuff to figure out, to say the least.
And for those of you that are listening and not watching, I took my beard and I gave it to Todd. Clearly,
It's phenomenal. Which is a great segue. Don't we have some big news to announce?
Oh, we do have some fantastic news to announce. So this week, Aaron put in a ton of hard work. Aaron, big shout out to you. So we are now.
He's like, man,
so humble over there.
Yeah.
But anyways, we are now going to be having the podcast live the next day for your audio enjoyment. We are live on Spotify, Apple Music, Podbean, right?
Podbean,
Google.
Google.
Coming to Google Podcasts and Audacity, is if you didn't mention that one.
Yes. So
yeah,
if you ever miss the show, you can always catch up with it on your car ride to work the following day. Some big and exciting stuff for us. So for all of you that are watching or maybe listening to this tomorrow morning, we definitely appreciate you. This is big stuff for us, so we're super pumped. We hope you are too.
Deserved.
All right. Should we get into it?
Let's do it, Daddy.
All right. Thursday night game tomorrow night. We got an absolute banger. We got the Raiders. Not a great start, I know. Headed to LA to take on the just Rams that are in shambles right now.
They're baking though. They're baking, baby. Ovens on, and they are
Corey,
baking.
lead us off. Who you got?
Yeah, this is an interesting game, but honestly, I've seen some improvement out of one of these teams over the last couple of weeks, and it's not the Rams. I think it's a little bit too short of a turnaround to think that Baker Mayfield's going to come in there and exact any kind of change in what we've seen in the trajectory for the Los Angeles Rams over the last few weeks. But I'm going to go ahead and take the Las Vegas Raiders in this one.
Perfect. Aaron, who you got?
The Raiders. Yeah, no, like,
I was like, is that it?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, like the Rams are butchered to hell. They're without their starting quarterback. They're without, one of the best receivers in the league. They have defenders coming in and out of games. They're listless right now. They're a team that is full of veterans that has no path to make the playoffs. So what are they playing for other than the cold tub? And I don't fault them for it, because when you just won a Super Bowl, so you don't really have anything to get up for here. The Rams are a team that, unless they're playing like the Texans, I'm probably going to fade for the rest of the season. So I got the Raiders here, and it's not a team that I'd like to pick.
Yeah,
sure. Todd.
So I'm also picking the Raiders, but I want to give a quick shout out to Josh Jacobs here, fellas. 1,300 yards on the season, playing absolutely out of his mind. Last 3 games, 109, 229 in an overtime win against the Seahawks, and last week against the Chargers, 144 yards on the ground. Facing the Rams with no Aaron Donald, that does a lot, right? I just shared 2 of the 3 of those teams have poor run defense. The Rams have very little defense now without Aaron Donald on the field. So expect Josh Jacobs to have another 100-yard game this week.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I've had the Raiders the last 2 weeks, and they're starting to turn it around a little bit. Derek Carr is looking like he's starting to get something going. So, I'm going to ride that train against the Rams, who are, I mean, if Baker Mayfield's what you're hoping for, then you're in trouble. So.
Oh, he's not going to play. That's a long term. We don't have any draft picks.
Yeah.
We're 4th on the waiver wire type of move.
Yep.
And there's nothing wrong with making it. I think Baker has proven who he is in this league, but do
you think it had anything to do with the injury to Jimmy Garoppolo and then playing a little divisional defense?
No, the Niners never put a claim in.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I think sorry, Corey, go ahead. But
I just think it's the best option that they had available to them to try and compete, and that's not saying a whole lot, to be honest. The quarterback market is pretty depleted at this point. I think it's been depleted even considering all the starting quarterbacks in the league right now. The disparity is pretty large between that top echelon of quarterback and even the middle of the road guys, right? So it's pretty clear that you need one of those top 5, top 7 quarterbacks to not only get to a Super Bowl, but win it. There's just not a lot available right now. So the claim makes complete sense. It's a stopgap option for them. It's not going to be super expensive, and just continue to move forward as an organization, putting a product on the field.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, real quick, though, I was just going to say, like, they gave up 2 first-round picks for Stafford. You don't know if he's going to be able to play next year.
Yeah. And
Corey, like you said, you need one of those top quarterbacks to get there. And they're basically back to Goff if Stafford doesn't come back. And I don't hate the move. I get why they did it, because they're going to be completely draft strong to be able to make any type of move at quarterback. So it makes sense, but that's a for next year move.
Yeah, just something to think about. Not to get too far ahead, but there are 2 big names that are potential free agents moving into next year. One out of the AFC North, one out of the NFC South. I'm of course talking about Lamar Jackson and Tom Brady. So just keep those names in your head when considering who the Rams, and that's totally a Rams move, right? That's absolutely something
100%.
the Rams would do.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, moving on real quick, though. We'll touch on Mafia's comment here. Tommy said he asked if he missed the big announcement. Well, if you were here.
Yeah, there's hot photos of that guy's sister.
Oh, yeah. Photos. Tons of them. Well, Tommy, the big news was that we are now officially on all audio platforms at Spotify, Apple Music, Podbean, soon to be on Google. So you can catch all the action the day after if you missed the live. So that was the big news. And if anybody else, missed the announcement, we can definitely retouch on that. But moving on, we've got prime time Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings headed to Detroit at 1:00. So, I think this is going to be one of the better 1:00 games that we're going to see. I'm excited to check it out. Todd, lead us off. Who do you have?
Damn, I knew you were going to start with me. This is one of the
course.
hardest games of the week, boys.
It is.
One of the hardest games of the
I gotta
week.
put you on the spot, baby.
Look, the Lions are playing some of the best football in the NFL, fellas. There's no question of that.
Oh.
Moving the ball up and down the field well. They're starting to figure it out on defense a little bit, actually making some stops. I mean, if you watch the Thanksgiving game, it came down to 2 possessions for them to beat Buffalo. They've won 3 straight after that. 3 straight, right? After the Buffalo game, or 2 straight?
No, there's only been one other game, I believe. So, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm sorry, 3 of their last 4. That's where I was going with that. Thank you. So, 3 of the last 4, had a close one with Buffalo. The Vikings coming off of really, a dual goal line stand win against the Jets, where they gave Jets back-to-back opportunities with the ball, and I think just missing a real NFL ready quarterback is the difference between them having 10 and 9 and 10 wins. It's in Ford Field, boys. I'm taking the Lions. This is my this is my one where I think these guys are playing hungry. It looks if you watch the highlight reels or you watch them in game, it just looks different. The running game is stellar right now. DeAndre Swift is 100% healthy. It makes them way better with the ball in their hands. And you're going to get Jameson Williams back this week, fellas. I think that's a big deal. I mean, you're going to get him on the field for the first time all year and actually get to see what he could do. Yeah. Right. And I don't expect him to be an impact player, right? I mean, he's a rookie getting his first snaps at the NFL level. It's going to take him some time to get acclimated, but I mean, he's a real legitimate threat. You got to keep an eye on him no matter what. But yeah, I'm taking the Lions in Detroit here, fellas. I'm here for it.
Cool. Aaron.
Lions are favored by 2 in this game, and one of the teams is 10-2. I agree with you, Todd. Like, the Lions are playing much better, and this is probably one of those games where I would have snuck in a Lions pick, because I think they can easily win this game. But I also think there's no business in 2022. I don't care how good the Lions are playing for them to be favored against a team that's 10-2, and I wrote down Lions going into this game. I was doing a little prep and looking at it, and I can't do it looking at the spread.
Nice
even
brag.
Like I'm going against Vegas. Like, that's dumb, right? For sure. But this I feel like the Lions are almost getting too much respect, and I just don't believe it yet. And I've kind of faded the Vikings a little bit this year, outside of locking them as the over, which they've already hit.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I see a team that still has something to play for, which is the number 1 seed, which is that first round bye. And I'm taking the Vikings here. And I can't believe it's that controversial. It's not a controversial pick, but according to Vegas, it is, which is just wild to me.
Yeah, for sure. Corey.
Yeah, I'm kind of going through the same thing running around in my head right now, because when I look at the spread, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Dallas spread when they played the Cowboys. And you're looking at that, you're looking at the record of the Vikings, you're looking at the record of the Cowboys, and you're seeing that Cowboys are favored in that matchup. And you're like, what's going on here? Why are the Cowboys favored here? Yeah. And they just go out and absolutely spank them. I don't understand why the Lions are favored. I don't get it. I don't know why Vegas has it that way. But I'm kind of with you, Aaron. I feel weird picking against it. Like, it seems almost like a trap bet. It's probably one I'm going to keep my money away from on Sunday. Yeah, but if I have to pick a money line bet, if I have to, gun to my head kind of deal, I'm gonna take the Vikings here. This just seems like a game that the Lions are going to lose in heartbreaking fashion, similar to that of the Bills game on Thanksgiving. I think I texted all you guys, like, watch, the Lions are going to lose here. They're going to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. It's kind of lining up that way. I'd love to be proven wrong. One thing to note, the Lions are playing for something too. They are still in it. In fact, this is a playoff game for them. If they lose this, then the division goes to Minnesota. If the Lions win, they still actually have a chance to even win the division. They're going to need some help, obviously, but I'm taking the Vikings here, and it's one I'm definitely going to have my eyes on for sure.
I staged it so I could get the last one, hoping that you guys would help me make my pick, and it has done the exact opposite.
I think I made Corey change his pick.
No, I was going Viking. I didn't actually know the spread. It was actually -2.5 on Caesar.
It's moving.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is someone, did Kirk Cousins die? Like, what's going on here? Did he get COVID?
Yeah,
What
and
happened?
it's 1 o'clock.
Yeah, what's going on?
Right.
Your
They know
boys
something
died.
we don't.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Shady.
this is, the Vikings have a ton to play for here. I think this actually pushes this to more of like a Saturday afternoon game for the Vikings as far as pressure is concerned, in respect to Kirk Cousins, because this is a clinching game for the Minnesota Vikings. So I think the stakes are a little bit higher.
It's fair.
So he's gonna fold like a wet
I'm-
paper bag.
I've got the Lions in this one, boys.
Woo-wee! I love it. Split.
love
I got the Lions at home. I think they have more to play. Their season is on the line this week. The Vikings are in good shape. If they don't win this week, they will still be fine.
And doesn't it just makes so much sense for the Lions to just like stay in it all the way. And then the last game of the year, Aaron Rodgers just says "fuck you" and takes it away from them.
Yep.
That makes a lot of sense.
I just you look at that game where they played Minnesota early on, and that again,
They were
that
right
was
there.
That was a one possession game, right? That's a
Yeah.
possession, and I think at the beginning of the fourth quarter where they make a turnover, which turns into an easy score for Minnesota, and they win by 4.
But
I've seen
Minnesota's
this.
they've been doing that all year. There's no they're not
Right.
beating anybody. They're not like blowing the doors off of anybody. But they're making a play on defense, or somebody the other team's fucking up or something. They are statistically the luckiest team in the NFL. If you look at point differential, the Minnesota Vikings are +10. That is the lowest point differential of any 10-2 team in NFL history. They are statistically the luckiest team ever in the
That's crazy.
NFL.
That's a
Yeah,
crazy
but
stat.
throw the outliers like that Cowboys game, right? Like that's a pretty big point differential. Yeah, but
okay.
but if this is golf and it's a skins game, that's just 1. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
but then you throw out the Eagles game too. But you're putting weight on that because there's no question whether or not the Eagles or the Cowboys are legitimate NFC contenders. There are still questions whether or not the Vikings are legitimate NFC contenders at 10-2, which is crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Agreed.
Yeah. For one of the things that sparks in my mind when you say that is that Broncos stat, which we'll get to them in a second. But it's like if they'd score 18 points, they'd be 10-2. 18 points a game, they'd be what 10-2.
That's
Something
crazy.
like that. So it just goes to show you that you don't have to put up a lot of points. It's all about matchups, baby.
Well,
Just win,
all right.
baby.
You got to put up at least 18 points. That's what I
Got to
took
put
away
up at least 18 points.
yeah.
All right.
Given.
Big game this week, a game where I believe some of the panel will actually be rooting for the Steelers. Maybe all of the panel. We've got the Ravens headed to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. No Lamar Jackson this week, so that's good news, at least on my end.
For Steelers fans, yeah.
Yeah, it's great news for Steelers fans. If you're a Ravens fan, I'm not sorry. I definitely want to win this game and see the Steelers get back on track here. I think without Lamar Jackson, I think the Steelers defense is just too much for the Ravens, at this point in the season. So I'm going to make it short. I'm taking the Steelers here at home. Corey.
I don't think there's that much of a drop off here, to be honest with you. Tyler Huntley's a solid option backing up the Ravens. While I would love to see the Steelers win, and I hope I'm wrong here, I just don't see it. I see the Ravens winning again. I actually think that offense is going to move a little bit more productively with Tyler Huntley back there than they are going to be with Lamar Jackson. I know that's crazy to say. Some people had Lamar as their MVP. I just like the way it moves when you have Huntley back there, so I'm taking the Ravens.
Todd.
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens here too. This is my game where I would love to be wrong. It wouldn't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't lose any sleep if I check my phone at 3:50 and the Steelers are up by 10 points and
Love it.
Baltimore's not doing anything. But I actually agree with Corey. I think the Baltimore's offense moves better with Huntley under center. He's a little bit more cerebral. He's better at getting more people involved and not trying to always force the big play, where we've seen Lamar Jackson really struggle with that this year. So likely won't see Lamar. I believe what I read today is up to 3 weeks. So
Yeah, 1 to 3 weeks, I think is what it says.
So that's what I read on that is the typical recovery time for his injury is 1 to 3 weeks. Obviously, Lamar Jackson is a freak athlete, given and he has all the resources in the world to help his recovery. I would probably push it to Lamar might even be back next week.
Aaron.
Yeah, Bobby, I don't know if you just heard that, but I'm going to read between the lines here with these fucking guys. They want the Ravens to lose, and they're reverse karmaing it, because if they take the Ravens here and win, that's fine. But if the Ravens lose, and we all expect the Bengals to win this week, I guarantee you everyone on this panel picks the Bengals to win this week. And I think Corey and Todd are reverse karmaing this so the Steelers win.
There's only one guy on here who didn't pick who picked the Bengals last week, and that was me. There ain't no reverse karming. If there's this guy right here is a big reverse karma guy. No. Yes, he is. Todd is.
That's exactly what I did last week. I did the same thing last year when they played the Chiefs at the end of the season.
But Corey, this has nothing to do with the Bengals. You have confidence in the Bengals.
Sure.
But if you pick the Ravens to win and they lose, which you expect that that if they do, obviously the Bengals are going to be in first place in the division. Listen, guys, I agree with everything that you guys said. I think Lamar and that offense has been listless all year.
Yeah.
I think just bringing in a different guy is interesting enough on that offense to make it seem like the Ravens can maybe do something a little bit differently. I don't disagree with that at all. I think the Steelers are actually playing decent football right now. Ever since TJ Watt came back, that defense is in an entirely different animal since he's there. And don't get me wrong, I think Huntley brings something different to that offense, but I actually think the Ravens defense isn't very good. And I think a young up and coming offense in the Steelers is actually going to find a little bit of a place here. This has everything in the making of a 17-13 AFC North showdown. I'm taking the Steelers.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, I for one, I hope I'm wrong, but I think the Ravens are going to win. I think they will.
Cool.
Well, it's the same thing that we just did with the Vikings and the Lions. Like, it's not crazy to say that the better team record-wise is going to win.
Right.
But it almost feels like we're picking upsets when we shouldn't be. You know what I mean?
It's weird. It's a weird week for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, moving on to the second divisional matchup in the AFC North. We've got the Browns headed down 75 to take on the Bengals.
Hey, if you're trying to go out of the way.
71, baby.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right. I mean, they'd have to take a hard right there.
Pick it up in Toledo.
I mean, actually, if you look at it, if you run out to Bowling Green and then down, it's almost the same, but it's not.
Either way. Sorry. My geographical and navigational knowledge is not the best. That's
you just live in the middle of the state. It's not a big deal.
It's fine.
Yeah,
all roads lead through Rome, but whatever.
They go somewhere. All right, well, Aaron, I will let you lead this off. Browns on the road in Cincinnati. Who you got?
I mean, I'm taking the Bengals, but the weird thing is the Browns play really well against the Bengals.
They do.
And listen, it's fine that you picked me first, but I kind of wanted to hear these guys talk because I just wanted to make the point of this is how fucking weird the NFL is, right? Joe Burrow is 3-0 against arguably the greatest quarterback of a generation. And he's also winless against the Cleveland fucking Browns. Yep. And I'm a Browns fan, and I'm like, that's fucking bananas. So what you're telling me by the transitive property is the Browns are fucking awesome.
Yep, that's how it works.
That's not how the NFL works, and it's just wild. Like, what do you guys think of that? Like, just hearing that out of anybody's human mouth.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I think when you look at a couple of the games, 2 of them are primetime on the road. I think that there's a little bit of not an asterisk there, but a lot of it has to do with the fact that they were in Cleveland in prime time. That crowd is geared up for sure. I think the Browns at the first part of that were a different team than they are now for sure. Bengals organization was going through a lot that Monday night game, obviously, losing one of their assistant coaches and then going into that game. There's something to that first game without Jamar Chase as well. But no, it's just weird, man. I don't have any other
this year. I'm talking about Joe Burrow's career.
Well, he's only that one, and then the first time he met up with him was on a Thursday night matchup in Cleveland as well. So 2 primetime games on the road against them. So there's that. But other than that, I'm literally fishing for explanations on this one because I don't have one. There's nothing, and even in our group chat, obviously I was a little salty during the game, but I still think the point matters. I'm frustrated as hell of losing to on paper an inferior team, and that's what's happening. There's no reason that they should lose to the Browns, but they do, and they've done it 4 fucking times in a row. Yeah, or 6 times, five times. No,
Joe Burrow's 0-5. It's 6.
It might be 6 overall, but
Joe Burrow's 0-3. Yeah, this 0-3.
He's
0-3. He's 0-3. His first season, he only played against him once. He was hurt and missed the second matchup. And Ryan Finley played against him.
He's always trying to fucking duck him. That's what.
That's what it is. Yeah, for sure.
Just to kind of finish out my points here, at least in terms of the game, right? So Deshaun Watson, obviously last week looked very, very rusty. We saw that he's slinging balls at shoestrings. But every time I watch the Bengals against the Browns, especially this year, the last game, I think Joe Mixon had like 7 or 8 rushes or something like that. And they just completely went away from the running game. And I'm like, I don't know who you guys think you're playing against, but run the fucking ball. And I understand that you have these great receivers and an awesome quarterback, but let Joe Burrow hand that ball off 25 times in this game. Yeah. And I guarantee you walk away with a W, because the Browns have one of the statistically worst run defenses in the history of the NFL. And it passes the eye test when you say that too. Corey, you mentioned it. Jamar Chase is back. That's, obviously big for the Bengals, but there's no reason they should lose this game. The argument for the Browns is they just match up well against them. They just have not had an answer for Nick Chubb during his entire career.
You're right.
Yeah. Todd.
Yeah, so I think my perspective of when you get into a game like this series, right, is that a lot of times it just gets between the ears when you have games like this, right? When you lose it, the shit just keeps rolling downhill and it gets bigger and bigger, and it's obviously in the back of every fan's mind, and it's certainly in the mind of every player that, like, yeah, we're the better team. We check all these boxes, but we can't put a W on the board, right? I think that you get to a certain point where it gets in your head and you make mistakes, or it just changes your whole psyche. I think that's a big aspect of even especially for a professional athlete, of what happens when you get into a series like this, right? You look, the baseball parallel, a guy like Justin Verlander is one of the best pitchers of all time that we've, or of our generation a little earlier. He's one of the worst postseason pitchers in the history of baseball. Same with Clayton Kershaw. When the circumstances change, there's just something inside of you that flips a switch, and you don't consciously show you're afraid or your fear, but it's in there, right? And I feel that even as a Bengals fan, I feel that every time we play Cleveland, because it's not guaranteed no matter what, whatever it is. I do agree with Aaron. I think that the first matchup of the year, they didn't run the ball a lot. I think that's going to change this week, whether it's Mixon or Samaj. They're going to run the ball more. I think the run game has certainly become more established from Atlanta moving forward, right? We've watched them get the ball on the ground, be consistent. I think at the beginning of the year, with the lack of chemistry from the offensive line, it was too tough to run the ball. It's easier to give the ball to the best player on your team and let him try to figure out how to get the ball down the field than to try to force something that's clearly not working or the chemistry isn't there. I'm picking the Bengals. I think that this will be kind of the redemption game for Cincinnati. I don't foresee this being anything overly closer. We're watching it with 2 minutes left, and I'm sweating my dick off watching it. But I'm speaking things into existence here. Just as I spoke the Bengals went into existence last week by picking the Chiefs, I'm doing it here by picking them this week.
So I think this game is going to be a lot closer than you guys want it to be.
I agree.
I think Deshaun Watson finally got a game under his belt. Obviously, he played terribly last week. He couldn't hit me if I was, standing 5 feet away from him, on a massage table. But yeah, sorry.
That's good.
There.
I like it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
But no, I think Aaron hit the nail on the head. You've got to get Perine and you've got to get Mixon involved early. Did Mixon clear concussion protocol? I didn't see.
He was practicing. That. He practiced today.
He practiced. Okay,
yeah.
So he's going to play to what amount I don't know. But Perine played very well last week, in Mixon's absence, and I think you've got to lean on that running game, especially against Cleveland with the defense. So I think the Bengals win this in a close one. This game will be coming down to the last 2 minutes of the game, and I think it's going to be whoever has the ball last. And I think the Bengals are going to be able to take this one from the Browns finally.
If they somehow sneak away with a dub here, then you actually have to look at the Browns' schedule and see if they can somehow backdoor make the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're not that far out of it.
Browns have a lot to play for this week.
Yeah, and
maybe 3-1 in the division.
You're getting them in the same kind of situation that you got them in last time. Backs against the wall. The Browns are ready to go. I mean, that defense isn't just going to roll over. You got a couple of guys on that defensive side of the ball that have had great games against the Bengals, and obviously you're looking at Nick Chubb, another guy that's had a lot of really good games against the Bengals. When I'm looking at it from the defensive side of the ball for the Bengals, one, the rush defense has been phenomenal over the last 4 weeks. Ever since the Atlanta game, you're looking at Atlanta, you're looking at the Saints, you're looking at obviously the Panthers without McCaffrey, but you're looking at another matchup against the Steelers. I'm trying to think here. Derrick Henry, hello. And not to mention that of the Chiefs as well. They've absolutely shut down the run. DJ Reader being back is huge for that defense. And we thought it was going to be a really big miss with Chidobe Awuzie being out for the remainder of the season. The Bengals haven't allowed a passer over 60% completion percentage, I think, since week 2, I think it is, all season. So the defense has been stepping up big time. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I think he has had 60% completion percentage in his last 12 games or something stupid like that. Bengals held him to 59.3. So that plus, man, I mean, I know I'm a homer coming in here with this, but there isn't a team in the NFL that, other than probably the Eagles and the Vikings, or excuse me, Eagles and the Cowboys, there's not a team in the AFC that's playing better football than the Bengals right now. There's just not. We'll get to the Bills in a little bit.
They're up next.
Yeah, we'll get to
the one thing if you don't mind, real quick, because they asked Joe Burrow today, asking if the Browns do anything different from anybody else that he goes against, and his direct quote is, well, they have Myles Garrett. That's different than anybody else. And I just love the honesty about it.
Yeah, he has no qualms with owning up to that. And I think he even said it was a couple weeks ago. I'm trying to recall who it was. I think it was when they were playing the Steelers, actually. It's like, what do you do with a TJ Watt? And his answer was like, you're not going to stop him. You just have to game plan around him and just try and contain him. And to that point, the Bengals offensive line has been playing fantastic. They've been playing great. Joe Burrow continuously drops down every week in terms of total sacks and where he ranks in the NFL there. But Chris Jones, 0 pressures last week. And obviously that we know what an impact Chris Jones is to that Kansas City Chiefs pass rush. So it's going to be interesting. They're playing good football right now. They're going up against the last monkey that remains on their back other than the Super Bowl, obviously. And that's the Cleveland Browns. Oddly enough, that is the last monkey that remains on the back, and it could either be they're not quite there yet, or it can be look out, here they come. That'd be 5.
Monkeys come in different sizes.
It's definitely going to be the game that I'm watching at 1 o'clock. That is for damn sure. Outside of having the Steelers on, I will have both of those games on the screen because they're both going to be fantastic matchups.
Absolutely.
All right.
I had the Bengals, by the way. I didn't.
I know.
My pick.
I know.
We know.
I already got you down for the Bengals.
Pencil those into the end of the year.
It's all good.
I don't know. That Monday night one looks a little hairy. Gets the Bills.
All right. Anyway. We got the Jets headed into Buffalo to take on the Bills. A rematch that I think we've all been looking forward to.
Game of the week.
These are, the 1 o'clock slot on Sunday is just absolutely stacked.
Yeah.
It's going to be another great weekend of football, guys. Another great weekend, some great matchups. Corey, I'll let you lead this one off. Jets, Bills.
Yeah, so kind of talking a little bit about it last week. I have not been impressed with the Bills. They're finding ways to win some of these games, but obviously dropping one in the last 3, I think it was, but they won their last 2, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, it's just I don't know what it is. I can't really put my finger on it. Josh Allen is making some suspect fucking throws. There's just a couple of times where he's just hooking it up there. Should have been picked off twice in the first half last week. There's just a couple of it's just not clicking right now. And I can't put my finger on it, Aaron. You and I kind of went back and forth about this a little bit. Can you try and articulate better than I am right now what I'm seeing?
I have a theory.
Okay.
3 weeks ago, you have a blizzard and you have a home game against the Browns that is played in Detroit. The next week you're in Thanksgiving in Detroit, and last week you're in New England. They haven't had any home cooking. They've been out of sorts, out of pocket for the last 3 weeks, and I think you've seen that on the field.
Sure.
That's my theory. I agree with you, though. They don't look the same.
Yeah.
I
don't mean to push my pick off on you in this one. Honestly, the Jets played admirably against the 10-2 Minnesota Vikings on the road last week, coming down to the last minute, giving Mike White an opportunity to win that for the Jets. That Jets defense is legit. I think what we're going to see this week is a little bit of what we saw last year, though, and that is when Mike White came in for the one game against the Bengals, he looked great, and he led the Jets to an actual win in that game. The following week, they get fucking curb stomped. And I'm not saying that they're going to get curb stomped because I think this Jets defense is legit. However, I do think the Bills win this game.
Sure. Todd.
Yeah, I think I like Aaron's theory of, when you're on the road for a month, it's hard to get comfortable because you're constantly you're not getting mama's home cooking, right? You're constantly eating putting takeout in that belly, and that's not good for you.
Thanksgiving on the road.
I think the big thing, and I just when I watch Buffalo, and I love watching Buffalo's offense in the first half. Because it's fluid. Everything works. They run the ball well. They set it up for really strong play-action plays for Josh Allen to Diggs or Gabe Davis or Isaiah McKenzie. And then in the second half, they just come out so flat. And, we saw it in the Detroit game. You just chip away and chip away and chip away. And even the last time the Bills played the Jets, right? That's how the Jets get back into the game is, Buffalo goes out and takes a quick lead on them in the first half. New York comes out in the second half with a new plan, and you beat them. Right. And I've yet to see Buffalo put 4 quarters together of good football since that first week against the Rams. That's it. I feel like that's the last time I've watched them play really, really good football for an entire game. So I'm looking for the Bills to just play 4 good quarters of football, fellas. That's what I want to see this week.
Yeah, they won 41-7 against the Titans and 38-3 against the Steelers and beat the Chiefs in there. So I get what you're saying. In terms of 4 straight quarters, they're still
they were up. When they played the Titans, they scored 35 points or 28 points in the first quarter.
Todd, you picked the Bills, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're. I know exactly what you mean. I get what you're saying.
But let me try and put this. I don't think the sky is falling in Buffalo. That's not. It's like they're winning games. They still are. The offense still has moments of production, but they're
beat up.
There's times where I'm looking at their offense and I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? And then there's other times like, holy shit, look at Josh Allen. There's just different. It's just it's not the gas, all the way down like we've been used to in the first 8 weeks of the season. So it's just maybe it's a little bit of a come down here off the high that was the Bills offense, but
it was a high.
Yeah.
Like week 3, week 4-ish, especially after that Steelers game when they had not lost a game yet.
Yeah.
And everyone's just going, who's going to beat the Bills?
Yeah.
And that felt like a real conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it doesn't anymore, but there's less of a Goliath to it. You know what I mean? Like you're not as worried. Like if someone sat here right now and told me the Bills are going to lose in the AFC Championship game, I would go, yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds reasonable. I think everybody roots for the Bills in general because, they're a blue collar city that has good fans, that has not had the success of, no one's rooting for the Patriots if they were in the same spot because I've seen it happen. I'm bored with it.
Yeah. Get fucked.
Get fucked. So everyone's rooting for the Bills and Bobby, I'm taking the Bills here over the Jets. The Jets got their number in the first matchup on the road for the Bills. And I actually think the Jets are a sneaky good team that can win this game. I think it'll.
They just don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, I compared Mike White last week to Derek Anderson, where he can easily come in and go for 303 tutties, but he can also not and get 3 picks. And I don't know what I'm going to get.
I'll tell you who he's not, Aaron, and that's Jacoby fucking Brissett. All right.
No,
was that an insult? I don't know.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I also didn't know what that meant either. I was like,
yeah.
is that like
I
a
was just trying, I was
another
just trying to
backhanded
move on.
compliment?
I didn't know what was going on.
All right,
Jacoby just made some money this year. Baby.
Allow me to clarify. All right, Jacoby Brissett is not a guy that's going to. He's not going to be an ebb and flow kind of guy. You know what I mean? He's not going to be a guy that just isn't going to do it. Jacoby Brissett puts you in a chance to win almost every single time. So
yeah,
that's what I meant by that. Mike White he ain't him. He ain't that guy.
He's more
not that guy. Pal. Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean.
I've got the Bills in this one. I don't see the Jets being able to beat the Bills twice in one season. You know, I think they've had a great run up to this point. I still think they got a lot of good football left to play. I just don't think they get it done this week in Buffalo. So I'm going to take the Bills here. I mean, we all before got the Bills. So if the Jets prove us wrong,
great for the Bengals.
Right. Absolutely. All right. This next game we shouldn't have to spend too much time on. We've got
we're gonna.
We've got the Texans headed to Dallas. So
no, Dallas.
Davis Mills is back, baby.
Let's see here. Cowboys.
Yeah, I think their defense is gonna murder them.
I think this is going to be a similar showing to what they did against Minnesota. I don't think Houston gets anything going against Dallas. I mean,
I'll take that spread.
They are so hot right now. I said I think it's going to be similar. I mean, I would say I will give you 3. I'll give you 3 touchdowns.
You give me 21. You give me Houston plus 21.
I'll give you Houston plus 21.
I'm taking that I'm hammering that. What do I get? Like, what's the bet?
I don't know. I made the terms on the last one, so
all right, we'll figure this. 21 points? What the fuck? Yeah, I'm taking that.
I'll give you 21 points. I love Dameon Pierce. I think he's a great running back. He's got a big future ahead of him.
So wait, who's on what side? Who's on what side?
I got Houston plus 21.
I got Dallas covering the spread.
You got Dallas minus
21. Yeah.
I'm on Bobby's side. I'd never bet it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. It's fantastic.
Dude, the Dallas put up the second most points of all time in the fourth quarter.
I get it.
It's a decent team.
I get it.
You're right.
But 21 is insane.
Well, Dallas is going to stop trying after this halfway through the second quarter.
I want to know what that alternative spread looks like from what the juice is on a minus 21 spread.
If I had to get, what is the spread?
The current spread.
It's got to be at least 10.
I would guess 13 and a half.
It's
13 and a half.
16 and a half. Yeah.
Okay, so the
juice my spread's not too far-fetched.
The juice on that is like plus 240.
So Dallas minus 20. I can do 21 and a half.
Yeah, because that's how people do it. But Bobby gave you the half point.
minus 21 we'll do minus 20 and a half is plus 136. That's it. It's not even that much. It's not even that much.
240. Yeah, that's wild.
All right. But I like the buying the extra 5. I like that. We'll figure out the chat.
Do you have anything they want to add on this game? You know, I mean, we can talk about how great the Cowboys are. Dameon Pierce, he's great, but
I'd rather not.
Fuck them. Fuck the Cowboys.
Right. Next, we've got the Eagles headed to New York to take on the Giants, or should I say New Jersey to take on the Giants. I don't think this is a game we got to spend too much time on either. But I'll let you lead off, Aaron. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm going to take the Eagles, obviously, but I think the Giants are just kind of fading. You know, they were a good story start the year. You know, Saquon Barkley started off really hot. He was kind of the motor that ran that engine. The tie last week is it's
Commanders are playing good football too, though. You know,
They are.
Yeah, but in the last 5 weeks, it's lost to the Seahawks, win against the Texans, only 24-16, lost to the Lions, lost to the Cowboys, tie to the Commanders.
It's a tough 5-week stretch.
Oh man, you don't ever want a record that has a third number in there. And
we got 4 teams with it this year.
I know,
That's crazy.
I know. None of them are good.
I had a crazy idea with Todd. We were sitting there on Sunday watching the games, and obviously it was inspired by the World Cup. But what if after the quarters are up, they just do PKs? The kickers just go out there from 20, 30, 40, 50.
I love it.
And like you have to keep making it. If you miss, you lose.
I love it.
No,
How cool would that be? That'd be sick.
I would agree with that only for the London games.
Look at Berlin now too. You can spice it up in Berlin too.
That shit's happened on U.S. soil. Just fucking pissing my coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Mexico City, throw it in
Don't
there.
rain up my parade. Don't pop my balloon.
I like it from Mexico City too. You get the Spanish announcer. Go!
So quick sidebar. I was watching France play Poland on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it was, and I watched it on Telemundo specifically for that. I would just watch the whole game until I heard him. Then he did it, and then he took a breath, and then he went after it again, and
Dude.
it was just it made my morning.
When I was in Costa Rica, there was nothing better than like the only thing I could watch on television was sports because I don't speak Spanish, but I know what's happening in sports.
TikTok says otherwise, Aaron.
Well, I did a little Google Translate. I'm good at repeating shit. So it was exciting, man.
Yeah. Especially when Spain dropped fucking 7 goals on them. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Fucking Josh Allen handing the ball off, and I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, Josh.
That's awesome.
All right, let's move on here. We've got another divisional matchup. We've got the Jacksonville Jaguars headed to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Todd, who you got?
Do we even pick the Eagles game?
We all picked the Eagles.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. I was going to pick the Eagles, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll backtrack. Todd, would you like to add anything about the Eagles Giants?
I would just like to say that it's nice to watch someone like AJ Brown cost a job for someone else. I just think that's hilarious.
Yeah, he's been on a tear this year, man.
I think it's funny, right? Like,
no, that's hilarious.
That's how much of a tear he's on.
Yeah, he's played so well that a general manager lost his job.
His old GM got fired. Yeah, that's just because he just dropped a fucking. Did you hear Tannehill went up to him? He's like, man, you didn't have to do it like that. He's like, I had to do something. You know that.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
And do it so bad in a way where you're like, I'm not even worried about the coach's job. It's solely the GM.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's
like
it,
you
right?
let this go for what?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I went back and refreshed my memory because a coworker of mine was like, don't you remember how Vrabel reacted when he found out about the trade? And I was like, no, I don't remember because obviously I had been drinking by that point pretty heavily. And
Obviously.
I went back and looked at it, and Vrabel was getting ready to walk out of the fucking war room after he found out AJ Brown got traded, and the GM's just sitting there and he kind of just looks at him. It's just like, nah, sorry, and just keeps going about his day. Like, clearly that was not a decision that was coach friendly either. And then this guy comes back and absolutely lays the wood on you. And then magically, 2 days later, he's out of a job. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love
fantastic.
it.
It's a great
It's
point.
great.
Karma.
Yeah.
Great point.
And
Yeah.
Sorry. That was it. That's the only thing.
No, I'm glad we backtracked because that's fantastic. I love that.
Yeah.
Corey,
My only caught Jalen Hurts. That's it.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. Okay.
Aaron, are you drinking a fucking wind chime over there? What is that?
It's just like a nice cup that keeps the ice. So I still got ice in this glass is what's happening.
Yeah. All right.
Put the pinky up. It's
It's
classic.
just a vodka soda. Sorry. We went to a happy hour after work. I came in a little buzzed, trying to keep this party rolling.
Yeah, absolutely. Good on you.
I mean, you have to at this point.
Yeah, boss is buying you vodka tonics. You're gonna keep that fucking party going. Yeah.
No, it's just me and my wife. Just went Went to happy hour.
Okay. Yeah. When I called you earlier, you're like, "Hey, I'm at a happy hour right now." I'm assuming it's a work function.
I thought that would have been work.
And I'm interrupting you're trying to get a promotion or something like that. Nope, just me and the Whiffy getting out there.
We went to a place that they did all their decorations Christmas like. Made a bunch of special cocktails, and it's like a speakeasy. It was great. We had a good time.
That's sweet.
Nice old fashioned.
Sounds like I do love me a good old fashioned.
Dude, who don't?
Who doesn't love an old fashioned? No, Sharon.
Sharon.
Oh, Sharon.
Oh.
She'll be asleep.
Man.
Okay, moving on. Yeah, we got the Jags on the road in Tennessee. Obviously without their GM Todd. So let's talk about this. Who you got?
Well, unfortunately for the Titans, I don't think not having a general manager impacts too much on the field situations, right? We've watched back-to-back weeks of Derrick Henry have a hard time, right? Obviously, Corey talked about the Bengals game, less than 60 yards of total offense for Derrick Henry in that game, less than 70 yards on the ground against Philadelphia. I think the train stops there for Derrick Henry. I think this is a nice comeback week for him in Nashville. Obviously, Jacksonville is still not quite to the caliber of, I think, even being in the mix of this being a close game. I think Tennessee comes back here in Nashville and gets a dub and continues to lead the AFC South.
Gotcha, Corey.
Yeah, I think it's a bounce back week for sure. I don't know that they're going to blow the doors off the Jaguars here. I think it is going to be a close game. I'm not sure what the spread is. Todd, what do you got on that?
I knew you were going to ask me that because I just Tennessee at 4.
Right, so I think the Jags might cover or push that. But that being said, I do think that the Titans pull this one off.
Aaron.
Yeah, this is a close one. I was looking at this, and while I was doing this, I kind of came up with this idea I want to float past you guys that I don't think we should do this year, but next year, the underdog insurance bet, where you don't get the loss if you get it wrong.
You got to get it sponsored by some kind of dog-based insurance for sure.
Of course. Fetch.
Which brought to you by Geico Pet Insurance.
Exactly. But I think it would encourage us to take more underdog bets.
Okay.
I can't do that this week, but I'm very, very close to wanting to pick the Jaguars this week. And what's going to happen is the Jaguars are going to win or lose right at the end. And I'm going to text you guys in the first quarter when the Jaguars go up 14. I told you it might happen. And I'm still going to take the Titans, but I really, 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 really want to take the Jaguars.
Well,
I also am not sure about Trevor Lawrence, and that's basically the.
So, look, can we talk a little bit about that? You're not sure about Trevor? Like that's a crazy statement to have made 2 years ago, right? Like, and you say that.
I mean, injury wise, I'm fine with Trevor Lawrence. He's good.
Oh, okay. You're good with him moving forward.
I'm good with Trevor Lawrence. Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. Because we're not the only. That. I believe he is.
He didn't practice today. He said he's going to, but he had an injury last week. We'll see.
Yeah, I think there was a point where it was like, how is he in this game? Basically, was kind of the. I didn't know.
I mean, his leg was north and his body was west. Like, it didn't look great.
Yeah, it looked bad. I couldn't believe he came back.
He came back in the game. That's what I was shocked about. As soon as I saw it, because Bobby and I watched together, I'm like, oh God, how is he walking off the field? Because things don't bend that way, and then he just came back in.
I mean, is there something to be said about, like, when you look at Trevor Lawrence, you watch him throw a football and you watch him make a good play. There's no question, right? He's got all of those, he checks all the boxes, right? He's a prospect. He's one of the best quarterback prospects in the last, decade at least. And it's just, he checks all the boxes, but there's just something, right? Is there something to be said about that? Just something. I can't articulate what it is, but it's just not there. I don't know if it's the aura, if it's the swagger, or the way he holds himself. Do you guys are you picking up on that?
Who are the last couple of good quarterbacks that you've seen come out of the draft?
Good quarterbacks
that are translating in your opinion. So like Joe Burrow, I would say, as an example. So are there any other ones that come to mind?
Like in how long? Like how far back are we going?
Let's go the last 3-4 years.
It's a good question, and it's a hard one to answer. And I think that's might be the point that you're getting at here is that there's just not really a lot of quarterback crop coming through.
No, I mean, my point, if you were to answer, like if you were to go through the quarterbacks,
I mean, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Trevor. I guess Trevor Lawrence is kind of on that list. Is Kyler? Are we reaching back to Kyler?
Sure. You could now say Tua, maybe.
Yeah, I think Tua's kind of taking that next step. Obviously, Jalen Hurts obviously is in that category.
Now the point I was going to make is what do they all have in common is a number one receiver. Trevor Lawrence does not have that.
Fair.
Joe Burrow has Jamar Chase. Josh Allen has Stefon Diggs. Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts is doing better now that they have A.J. Brown. Tua is now doing well because they have Tyreek Hill.
And Jalen Waddle.
And Waddle. Well, sure. But I think Hill is a step above. Point being like a bona fide number one.
Yeah.
I don't see that with Lawrence. They broke the bank to even get a number two there in Kirk, and I'm even seeing a little bit of difference in just that. Give Trevor Lawrence, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and I think you're looking at a much better quarterback.
Interesting. Good point.
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's valid.
I got all three of them.
Well, I'm gonna swing the other way on this one. I'm taking Jacksonville.
Nice.
I like it.
Taking Jacksonville on the road. They typically play pretty well in divisional games, especially when they're on the road. So, yeah, I like the Jags here.
Just appreciate you stepping out, swinging the other way there, Bob. It's pretty cool.
Swinging it.
Hey, you know what? I am down, so I've got to start swinging for the fences here. I gotta take some gambles when you guys aren't gonna get a game. So, all right. Next on the board, your favorite player, Russell Wilson, is at home. He is taking on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah.
Aaron, lead it off.
There's no gunman outside of frame. I'm taking the Chiefs.
Corey.
Despite my loathing of Mrs. Mahomes, I will take the Chiefs here in this one as well.
Sure. Todd.
She's the worst.
She is.
Who's worse, her or his brother?
Her. 110%.
Yeah.
She's worse.
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
You know why? I haven't heard from him in the last 12 months.
That's a good point.
Her, on the other hand.
Jackson's kept it quiet.
Did you know I saw a statistic that just based off social media that Kansas City Chiefs fans complain about the refs more than any other fan base in football. They are the number one bitchiest fan base.
Did you read
that?
Did you read that Sunday night at like 9:30? Because
I did.
Yeah,
did
because of the plethora of what was the penalty? I think it was. There's a
roughing the passer call that people felt was bullshit.
Right, which was questionable because Bobby and I even talked about it. It was a completion of the play, probably a little bit delayed. It is what it is. I saw 30 people that are in Kansas City Twitter talking about that play and how that impacted the whole game.
Yeah.
How many points came from that possession for Cincinnati?
I'm not entirely sure.
3.
Every fan base does it. We're all guilty.
Yeah,
of it. Let's admit that.
Sure.
I hear. That's. I'm actually curious what you guys think about officiating in general, because I do it every week. But I also, at the end of the game, can acknowledge the fact that is not why we lost.
Yeah.
There are a couple times I can point out to, for instance, when the Browns got called for an offsides against the Ravens.
Sure.
And then the ball got moved up 10 yards for a field
That's by
goal.
far the worst call that's been made this season.
I think,
but even that, I can acknowledge, like, we could have won the game differently as well.
Right.
There are too many mitigating factors in a football game to blame it on one call.
Exactly. Now, that being said, football is a game of inches. There are certain linchpin plays. I notated a couple of them in our group chat in the first half of that Bengals Chiefs game, that fourth down conversion that I think it was Smith-Schuster that reached out and barely converted that fourth down that the Chiefs got. The Bengals going for it on fourth down and not getting it on a goal line stand, eerily similar to the AFC Championship game, reverse roles, obviously, but there are situational moments that can drastically change not only the trajectory of the game, the play calling, momentum, all of those things. But the one thing that always came back just in, growing up playing sports was one thing our coaches had always told us is don't leave it up to the refs. If you have an issue with the way the refs are calling the game, just go out and beat the other team. I mean, look at remember the Titans, I mean, come on.
Right?
I'll go to the papers.
All righty. So yeah, we all got the Chiefs here. I'm taking the Chiefs, no surprise. Next game up on the board, we've got the Carolina Panthers head to Seattle. Whew. This is going to be a fun one.
I mean, I think the Seahawks win this one, no problem. You got a guy that you got Haley Joel Osment playing quarterback here. He sees dead people out there, so I think I got the Seahawks winning this one big time.
Yeah, same. I got the Hawks. Who you got, Todd?
I'm having a hard time coming back from the Haley Joel Osment.
He sees ghosts. He sees ghosts, man. I don't know.
So is Kenneth? Is that like a mono joke?
No. So Sam Darnold. There's an interview or a leak that came out when Sam Darnold was playing for the Jets that said he was seeing ghosts out in the field.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
And Haley Joel Osment in The Sixth Sense.
I get the parallel. Yeah,
jokes are better when you explain them. It's cool. Yeah.
No, but Todd, you're right there because that's one of the funniest things ever. Was when he was out with mono, and it was clearly all the shit they taped preseason where he's like pointing at the screen. They're like, out mononucleosis.
Yeah. Yeah. I just thought it was a mono joke. That's what I think. When I think about Sam Darnold, that's the only thing I think about. Is that
does Haley Joel Osment have a lot of mono cases in his history?
That kind of makes the parallel here. Well, Sixth Sense, artificial intelligence.
I don't know. It went over my head. I guess I don't know. Is Kenneth Walker the third playing? Let's talk about football. Is Kenneth Walker the third playing this week?
Questionable.
I'm still taking the Seahawks. That's it. That's my pick.
Aaron, you gonna take a flyer?
This is one to take a flyer on, boys. The Seahawks they started really well. Like it was a really great story. The Panthers started terribly, and somehow the Panthers are in the thick of a playoff race that I don't think anyone would have anticipated, just because that division is fucking terrible. Like it really is. It's so bad, but because Tom Brady's in first place, no one really wants to talk about it because it's like, well, we all thought the Bucs would win, but the Bucs look fucking awful too. Oh God. All right, talk me through this, boys. You got.
Okay, so you have Haley Joel Osment.
You got Haley Joel Osment
for the Panthers.
Here's the stat that actually fucking matters.
Bruce Willis was here. Bruce Willis was dead the whole time. Take that into account.
You've got to be different somewhere.
I'm taking the Panthers, and here's why. I
love it. The
Seahawks lost to the Buccaneers, who have been terrible. They lost to the Raiders, who I don't think have been playing well, and they only barely hung on to the Rams last week, who, frankly, are basically on a lot of second strings. The Rams were winning a lot of that game, and the Seahawks kind of came back. They're playing. Yeah, I'm going to take the Panthers here, guys. I think Sam Darnold's going to bring the juice.
Keep pounding.
Love it. Bring the juice. Shout out to Derek. All right. Let's move on to a game that I think we're going to be split on too. Maybe. We've got the Buccaneers headed to the West Coast to take on the 49ers. Obviously, the Bucs had a close one last week. The Niners took care of business. Todd, I'll let you lead this one off. Who you got?
The Niners beat the Dolphins with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, it wasn't Purdy,
Yeah. I just want to preface by saying that, right? I think it matters that San Francisco's defense is just so dominant that they can win games with Mr. Irrelevant out there on the field, right? That's the thing to me. And we've talked about it all year. Tom Brady is just, we're watching a completely different guy. And obviously that game and that game against the Saints, like that, it's not. I don't know. I'm not watching the same Tom Brady. I don't trust him against San Francisco's defense. All they're going to do is just pressure the fuck out of him the whole game, get to him a ton of times. I'm taking the Niners here. It feels weird taking Mr. Irrelevant over obviously the greatest quarterback of our generation
all time.
Yeah, I just don't like it.
Corey,
but I'm taking the Niners.
Yeah, it's hard for me to do that because it's such a quarterback-driven league. It is so vital as to what you're going to get, but at the same time, I don't know what Tom Brady's going to get out of that offense. Leonard Fournette hasn't been a contributor in a while. That offense is stagnant, to say the least, and it's I don't know. It's kind of disappointing. Like, yeah, they came back and won, but they scratched out a win against the Saints, and there's nobody pounding the table as the Saints as an NFC contender out here. Andy Dalton in prime time. Andy Dalton actually looked pretty good against that Buccaneers defense for most part of that game.
He played well.
He did all right. He didn't put them in a position to lose that game, which I don't think the drop off between Andy Dalton and Brock Purdy is that big of a cliff. I mean, he's obviously not a starting quarterback. We're looking at a guy that was third on the depth chart, taken last. Here's the thing. He was taken last, seventh round draft pick, right? How many 7th round draft picks are on an active roster right now? There's probably not that. There's probably not that many. There's probably not that many 7th round draft picks that actually make it to an active roster. So I think that does say something, and I think that San Francisco defense is legit, and I'm going to go with the 49ers here at home.
Sure. Yeah, I'm gonna follow suit. I don't like what I've seen out of Brady. You know, he squeezed the last 2 weeks. I think he's gone for everything in the tank at this point, just to pull out some wins against some teams that shouldn't have even been close. So, yeah, I'm taking the Niners here. I'm taking the young buck. I think he's got more tools around him and a much better defense. So, Aaron,
one more comment here. What comment here before I kick it back to Aaron is just that I think not only just Tom Brady's play, and Aaron, comment on this if you like, but I think the play calling has been horrendous. I don't think Todd Bowles is doing a great job leading that team in any way, shape, or form. So I think that there's a little bit of that to it as well.
Yeah, I don't think enough has been said about Bruce Arians just kind of jumping ship and Todd Bowles, a defensive coach, being put in that spot. And, you know, Byron Leftwich had been interviewed for head coaching jobs based off of what had happened in Tampa Bay the last couple of years. And, you know, there's might be a reason he wasn't hired, because if he could have gotten that job, that would have been a hell of an investment in himself, because I think a lot of that had to do with Bruce Arians just being a long-term coach in this league. And I'm not trying to take anything away from Byron Leftwich, but that offense looks terrible right now.
Yes,
and
bad.
And I'm putting that more on the defensive-minded Todd Bowles coach, because I've seen the Buccaneers play a good amount, and I've seen the entire game against the Browns where I'm like, well, I can't believe how conservative they're being and letting us back in this game. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you. It was kind of wild. For this game, I got the Niners as well, guys. It'd be nice to fade you all here, but
not the game.
Todd, you had made the point about Mr. Relevant. Mr. Relevant is Kyle fucking Shanahan, who gets everything he fucking can out of any quarterback who lines under center. And one of my favorite stats in NFL history is the fact that, do you know who has the second most passing yards through 16 games to start their NFL career that's not named Patrick Mahomes? So first overall on that list. Second, number one is Patrick Mahomes. I'll give you that. Number two,
passing
all
yards.
Time, passing yards to start their career. So through 16 games. He's an active. Maybe.
Nick Mullins.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, let's go.
Kyle Shanahan fucking gets production out of whoever is round up there. That's why they were completely ready to go with Lance at the beginning of this year. Garoppolo went down. All right, we'll make you the highest paid backup quarterback. Oh, shit, I'm so glad we did that. Garoppolo goes down. Now we're fine. The 49ers are going to be okay. They're going to still be in this year. I promise you that.
So I'm wondering, we had talked about high-profile free agents. One of those is traveling to San Francisco next year. San Francisco, do they make a run at Tom Brady next year?
I mean,
they've got the weapons.
The guy's a free bird at this point, right? He doesn't have to answer to anyone but himself.
He's from Northern California as well.
Well, the rumor was that was the movie he was trying to make initially.
Yeah.
It could be the last stop on his journey. All right, but let's move on to the Sunday night game. We've got a good one for you. We've got the Dolphins taking on the Chargers. So, Corey, have at it.
Yeah, I feel very confident in my preseason assessment of the Chargers as a prove it to me team, and they just haven't yet. I don't know if the seat for Brandon Staley is warm yet, but it's getting there. It's hot. Yeah, I mean, look, you're in the window right now, and if you're not making a step towards at least making the fucking playoffs, let alone winning the division, as an organization, it's an easy thing to move. Is the head coach? You got guys beating down the door, ready to be a head coach in the NFL. Plenty of talent available to you as well. So the seat's at least warm for sure for Brandon Staley, and you keep betting on the Dolphins for sure until they show you otherwise. And this Chargers defense, one that is seemingly every year going into the season, it's retooled, right? They've done so much to invest in that defense, and every year it continues to let them down. So I'm going with the Dolphins.
Sure, Todd.
Yeah, that's also a defense that's decimated with injuries as well. I think I agree with you. Every year you hear about all these weapons that they add, but also that's a team that is on basically like their third defensive line, right? And you're already talking about a defense that significantly struggles with a rush with protecting, or a rush defense rather. And it seemingly gets worse and worse. But
what is it with the Chargers and their inability to stay healthy? Like, do they still have the same fucking strength and conditioning coach? Do they still have the same medical personnel that they've had?
Still the same doctor who fucking stabbed Tyrod's lung. So
fucking crazy, absolutely insane.
Well, you got to think when you're paying rent to play at SoFi Stadium, you got to cut corners somewhere, so you pay the strength and conditioning coach less.
I think it's just I don't know that anybody talks about that enough. Like teams that are habitually hurt. Where's the difference lie there? Right. At some point, it's not luck anymore, right? Sorry, Todd, I didn't mean to cut you off. But go ahead.
No, I think it's a fair point too, because now you're looking at a franchise that's practicing and playing in probably the second nicest facility in the NFL, right? Maybe behind AT&T Stadium in Texas. But so you would think that injuries would subside, but I don't know. You're right. At a certain point in time, luck stops being the reason, or bad luck is the reason why shit doesn't happen. But I'm taking the Dolphins here. I'm watching the highlights of that Chargers-Raiders game, and just I don't know. They're the worst 6-6 team in football, right? They're the worst team at 500 of the season.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to see Justin Herbert finally get it together. I know injuries have had a lot to do with the Chargers' success this season, but he's a young guy that we all like. Aaron is definitely high on him at the beginning of the season. I think we all can agree. I think we all can agree that Justin Herbert is a likable guy that you want to see have some success in the NFL just for the future, of the game and the up and coming. But it's not going to happen this week. Tua's playing some great football. I love Mike McDaniel down there in Miami. I think he's obviously the Shanahan product. I think he's a great head coach. I think he's a player's coach. He knows how to get along with his guys and what's going to work well and get the most out of them. So Dolphins are in a good spot this year. I'm interested to see how far they take it. So Aaron.
Yeah, the Dolphins have kind of slid into the hole in my heart that the Chargers have left void this year. Like I'm a big Dolphins fan this year. I really I love McDaniel. And I'm still really high on Herbert, guys. I really am. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that he cracked a rib this year, and I just do not like Staley at all. I think he's a bad coach for them. We've seen Herbert air the fucking ball out like Pat Mahomes light. And Corey, I said it earlier, probably 5 weeks ago, where I was like, listen, Burrow now at this point has jumped that power ranking to me.
Sure.
So Burrow now is just destroying Pat Mahomes and his likeness. He's just taking them all down. But yeah, listen, guys, the Dolphins are I had them last week, and I think that was just a weird game. I think I'm also interested, Bobby, where they take it this year.
So
They're a dark horse AFC Championship team for me this year.
I don't think they could. I don't think that they could get to the Super Bowl this year. I don't think they have the ability. That offense is good, but when they play against a good defense, I made this comment last week, and not on the show, obviously, but with you guys. When the Dolphins play a good defense, that offense doesn't do what it does. It stalls bad. And Mike, even Bengal Sands, when we had him on the show for the Thanksgiving show, he made this comment, and it really stuck out to me. And I've started to watch it a little bit. I bet on it last week, and it paid off as well. But when that Dolphins team lines up against a top-tier defense, they're not as good. And so that's just something to just keep your eye on that as we're going through here, as they start lining up against some real defenses, which you will get in the playoffs. If you make it to the playoffs, you more than likely have a good defense, especially obviously later in the playoffs. So,
but who's that team in the AFC? I agree.
It's the Bengals. It's the Bengals. The Bengals have the best defense in the AFC.
I would agree, but I guess my whole point is, let's say it's December 7th, 2021. Nobody thought the Bengals were going to make the Super Bowl.
Fair.
I think the Dolphins are kind of right in that same vein.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
They might get there a year early.
You know what? And I like that comparison. Just from a statistics point, a rookie head coach has never done that. So I'm going to go with no. But it would, I don't think the Dolphins are that far off. And I spent a lot of time this preseason talking shit about that organization. They earned it. But the Dolphins are doing something right now that they're putting together a great regular season is what they're doing right now. And to be able to move beyond that requires them to go deep into the playoffs and to beat a team that has a solid defense. If they do that, if they go out and smack the cow, I mean, they're not, I don't think what they have left remaining on their schedule, but
they have to play Buffalo one more time.
So, I mean, are you looking at their schedule right now, Todd? Who do they
yeah. So next week they play Buffalo in Buffalo, and then you have Green Bay, which is that's not a tough defense.
No,
you have New England, which is a tough defense,
solid defense.
That's statistically right now the second best defense in the AFC, and then you play the Jets, which is also a good defensive matchup. So 3 of their last 4 games,
we're gonna see what they're made of.
If they go 3-1 in those matchups, we're going to see 100%. Yeah, if they're going 2-2 or 1-3 in those, then it's kind of leaning more towards of what I'm indicating here, and is that they're not able to flex on teams like the Houston Texans every week. So,
yeah, I mean, I thought it was a stupid move for Tyreek to go down to Miami, in the offseason. I didn't think that was a good move for him at all.
I think
we can all agree that we all thought it was a bad move,
right?
I mean, it was Tua. He's turned it around.
He's proved us all wrong,
and it's the same thing I said with Trevor Lawrence earlier.
Yeah. He's got those options now. He's got an offensive-minded coach that's leading him in that direction.
I'm interested to see how they finish this last portion of the season out. Like you said, if they can finish strong, I think they go deep.
It's not going to be a cakewalk. So yeah, it's a real good test for them going into the playoffs for sure.
Yeah, you're talking about
go ahead, Todd.
No, I was just going to say the rest of their season is mostly against division opponents, right?
Yeah,
3
out of 4
last 5 weeks are the division. That's a lot.
Playoff
That's
environment in the regular season.
And two of those 3 are on the road. That's a gauntlet, right? Yeah. If you're looking at what a tough schedule looks like towards the end of the year, Miami has one of the hardest schedules to finish out the year, and they want that. Obviously, if they're not going to claim the spot in the AFC East, they need that playoff spot. That wild card spot, excuse me. And this is it. This is where the rubber meets the road for them. And you're talking about, Mike McDaniel is a player coach, and he's doing a good job, but he's also a first-year head coach. And this is a big challenge for a first-year head coach to get into the latter part of the season and it's kind of put up or shut up for them, right? Because they've exceeded the 4 of ours expectations this year. But there's a lot of people around football that are saying but they won't make it out of the first round either. And I think for a guy like Mike McDaniel, who is leading a young team and trying to kind of do this culture shift, right? Because before this, Miami was a shitstorm and McDaniel was just the soft hire to kind of ease their way out of this, all the shit that went on with Tom Brady before the season started. And it's a surprise for Dolphins fans too. I work with a Dolphins fan, and I asked him after like week 6 or 7, I was like, how do you feel about the Dolphins this year? He's like, I'm shocked. He thought Tua was a flop. He thought Tyreek would be too big for Miami and make, and not fit into the role. And, I'm interested to see how it rides out, but this is I just think it's a big challenge for a first-year head coach, and I just don't think that they can fit it.
So the real test is going to be when things aren't going right? It's easy to be a cohesive unit when things are going well. It's easy to be a player's coach when things are, it's easy to be cohesive when things are going well. It's easy to be a player's coach when things are going well. It's very easy to be in that mold. What's going to happen when shit hits the fan? Because it happens, right? Somebody's gets hurt. You get smacked in the mouth by a team that you didn't expect it, or different things come up in this league where the margin of victory is just so small. Obviously not on spread, but I'm talking about these individual moments here, and that's the real test of the team, of the coach, and the resolve of the Dolphins. What is it going to look like when they get fucking hit in the mouth? And I think, we're going to find out here in the next few weeks.
I think my whole point in even bringing that up was the fact that, again, turn the clock back a year. If I told you the Bengals were going to make the Super Bowl, you'd say you're fucking insane.
Yeah.
So take the Dolphins, the Jets, the Giants, and the Seahawks. Tell me one of those teams is going to make the Super Bowl. What team are you?
Yeah, 100%. If you're putting it up against like 4 teams.
I'm putting it up against those teams that were in the same situation at this point last year.
Yeah, what I mean is that like a lot of those teams right now, and I'm looking at them, I'm not convinced that at least 60% of those teams aren't going to make the playoffs. So
more often than not, none of those teams are going to make their divisional championship.
Yeah,
or their conference championship.
So,
but I know it can happen.
Yeah,
the NFL is fucking wild.
It is wild. It is absolutely wild.
All right, so we all 4 got the Dolphins here. Moving on to the Monday.
Let me be clear: their test is not this week. That defense is not.
It is not this week.
It starts next week.
And I think we're gonna have probably a snooze fest of a game for you on Monday night, folks. We got the Pats on the road in Arizona. I'm not excited to watch this game.
Why?
What do you mean why? It's Kyler Murray after Thanksgiving. He's more worried about dropping 20 bombs in Al Mazra. But,
you can check him out on Bobby Slay on Facebook.
I hate this game. I really do. I think this is going to be a close game, and I want to pick the Cardinals because I think they are the better team on paper. But it's also the Cardinals after Thanksgiving, and they are terrible after Thanksgiving. Damn.
They're not the better team on paper.
Yeah, I don't think they are either.
They're 4-8 and 1-6 at home somehow.
Yeah, I'm taking the Pats here. I'm somebody else go.
Pats. Those points I just made.
Okay. Todd.
Yeah.
Sure, Pats. Let's go.
Corey.
Yeah, I'm going with the Patriots here. I just think they got more. They're a more complete unit. I can't take a 4-8 team. I'm just not gonna 4-16 or whatever.
Let's revisit this question. Does Cliff Kingsbury make it into Arizona as the head coach next year after the season?
No.
He shouldn't. Let me put it to you that way.
They gave all that money to Kyler and they need a scapegoat. It's certainly not the head coach.
That's what I think too. I've thought that since week 3, right? We've watched Arizona this whole year, right? Last year, obviously, they started 8-0, 7-0, something along those lines, and we were like, "Oh."
Last year they were 8-0. Last year, yeah.
Yeah, so we're like, "Oh shit, they're a real contender," right? And then what we just talked about with Miami, the schedule got harder, and then they lost.
They withered, yeah.
And then they lost again, and then it's rolled downhill. And you watch Arizona, which it's obviously challenging for us with them being on the West Coast. We don't get to watch a lot of Cardinals games unless they are on prime time, but it is really hard to watch them play. It's not good. Like there's so many parts of that offense that should work together, right? Like obviously Kyler Murray, who you just paid $200 and whatever $1 million, and then DeAndre Hopkins, who is a top 15 wide receiver. And Hopkins is on the field asking Kyler Murray, what the fuck are you doing out here? What's your plan? What are we doing? And Kyler just gets on the sidelines and just kind of shrugs his shoulders and talks a little shit and walks on by. This is a divided unit.
It's almost like he should watch more film, you know?
Yeah, maybe start there, but also the fact that you're paying this guy so much money and he's not playing well. That's the thing about Kyler Murray when I watch him.
And what is going what's the deal with all these? Like, are we at a place right now in the NFL where I talked about it a little bit earlier in the show, the disparity in quality of quarterbacks is so high right now that if you even sniff something close to being good, you just throw a fuck ton of money at it and just hope it works out. And I think you're looking at a couple of teams right now that have done just that. Sure. You're looking at the Broncos, obviously, with Russell Wilson, and you're looking at the Cardinals with Kyler Murray, and
you can say
you're looking at. That being said, but the product that Deshaun Watson, other than the fact that the last season that he played in, they had an abysmal record, but right. other than that, this guy has won a playoff game before. He's taken his team to the playoffs in a division that necessarily isn't always super competitive. Nonetheless, he's done it. The Browns, I guess you could put in there, but you look at a team like the Ravens,
who I was going to make this same point,
who are historically one of the most organized and well-run front offices in the NFL, and they're not throwing money at Lamar because they don't buy it, not yet. And if they did, we wouldn't even be in this conversation. Look at Baker Mayfield. The Browns did it. They said no, we're going to let you play out that year, and then we'll see what happens. And they obviously made the right choice when it comes to that. I think the Ravens are in the same boat. I don't. It's just something.
Are we comparing Lamar Jackson and Baker Mayfield right now?
No, I think we're comparing Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that, and you know, there's
because I know I was going to make the same point, Corey. I'm 100% on board with everything you're spitting right now.
Yeah, it's just I think that there's just such a gap in quarterback play, and everybody recognizes how important having a very good quarterback is to the success of your franchise, that if you even come close, they're just going to throw a shit ton of money at you. They're just going to throw a shit ton of money.
I think we've said it on this podcast a lot, right? The team lives and dies by your quarterback, right?
Absolutely.
At the NFL level, it's not a head coach most.
At least when it comes to winning championships. When it comes to winning championships, yeah.
Right. So when you have a guy that shows the blip on the radar, right, or the blip of talent, or the kind of, you know, I don't want to say Kyler Murray's ever been spectacular as a quarterback, but he's shown these, like, you know, weeks of greatness.
I mean, he's a first half MVP last year.
Yeah, and then the idea is like, well, I don't want to miss my opportunity. I got to lock this guy in now, right? It's like every wide receiver who is the S tier wide receiver gets paid over $100 million now. It's the same concept. You got to lock in your guy. You got to do it right now. You got to make sure you pay him so you don't miss your chance. Because what happens when you miss your chance is that you end up doing the quarterback gauntlet like a Carolina, right, where you're just kind of running the circles of who are we going to put on the field this week? What kind of product are we going to put on the field? And Arizona's clinging on to this hope that they can get into playoff contention to be a part of something greater in the NFC West. And I don't see it. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury, back to my very original point, I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is a leader. That's my problem with him. I think he's a shitty leader. When you have, obviously, Arizona's front office thought that they had their guy in Kyler, right? You lock him in. And again, you have DeAndre Hopkins. You have parts of the defense that are strong. You go out and give James Conner money. So you're putting the mold together. And then you're 4-8. And then you're not even talking about nobody's talking about how bad they are. That's my problem with this. Yeah. And nobody's talking about how Cliff Kingsbury has done nothing since he's been there, right? You other than him having a sweet house on draft day, he hasn't done anything that's made me think about him more than just being a shitty head coach.
Sure.
How much money does Arizona have to throw at Lincoln Riley to get him out of USC?
Woo! Woo boy.
Dude, it's the right mix. I agree 110%. That's the exact person that needs to transition from college to the NFL, and it actually works.
And I don't think it's that much, actually, Aaron. I don't think you have to throw that much at him because
I think they would make him the highest paid coach in the NFL to do it.
Maybe they
he's
would.
got so many perks at USC.
But they've got the track record of doing that. But nonetheless, it's the NFL, right? It's the NFL, and that alone cuts.
It's an ego-driven league.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it cuts X dollars off what they have to offer him, right? They don't have to match what USC is giving him because
they
it's
just have to make him the highest paid coach in the NFL.
Sure, and man, that would be something. That would absolutely.
Right?
He's the perfect coach for the NFL.
I agree.
He really is. He does.
I think he makes Kyler Murray excited again. I think it.
Yeah, but is Kyler the guy?
No, but they paid him like he is.
Yeah.
So it goes back to
yeah.
your Ravens point, which I 100% agree with. The Ravens are the well-run organization, and there's a reason they didn't pay Lamar yet.
Yeah.
And it's almost similar to like the Aaron Judge shit we saw. Aaron Judge bet on himself, and now he got the money. You know what I mean? You don't just give somebody the money because the Cardinals are a team that they haven't been there. They're not a team that is used to constantly being right there. We finally have a quarterback that's exciting in today's NFL football. Let's give him the bag. No, that's not what the Ravens are doing. They're a very, very well-run organization, and they're going to say, hey, Lamar, you've won an MVP. Any other organization would have already given you the bag. But we're noticing a downward trend, and we're also noticing the way that you play NFL football means that in the third year of your contract, you're going to be worthless. So we're going to franchise tag you for 2 years, and if you want to sit out, you can sit out.
Yep, absolutely. And you look at teams that do end up that have extended their quarterbacks or quote thrown the bag at a quarterback. It's been the guys that have at least been there. Patrick Mahomes is the one that comes to mind for me, right? He got the bag thrown at him when after he won a Super Bowl.
Right.
Okay. And that's when the bag was thrown at Patrick Mahomes.
The Cardinals didn't need to do that.
No. We talked about that. Why give Kyler Murray this big contract when clearly you don't even trust him?
What has he proven?
What has Russell Wilson proven in the last 3 years?
Super Bowl.
3 years? No.
Well, it's 3 years. That's culmination of career. He's a Super Bowl winner.
Yeah, I think once you get past this,
that's not even fair to compare, in my opinion.
Once you get
I'm looking
past
when
the
I'm looking
initial
at
contract, it's
okay.
different.
GM hat on, and I'm looking at quality of player. Maybe he gets that contract, but he doesn't get it from my team. That's the point that I'm making. As a GM, I'm not giving him that contract. Look, what is the body of work in the last 3 years shown me that you deserve that contract? Because that's what we're looking at.
First round picks you traded to get me, GM, and if you don't pay it to me, I'm not gonna step foot on the field.
Again, maybe I'm missing you here on this. I'm not making that trade in the first place, is what I'm saying.
Well, that's different. Yeah,
I'm not foregoing that capital. Thus, I'm not signing that contract because of the body of work. Along with that trade, you know that's coming on the back end. That's a stipulation of the trade for sure. But I'm not doing that. I'm not throwing the bag at Kyler because what have you done in the last 3 years that indicates that you are a Patrick Mahomes, that you are a Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers?
The Wilson one I just don't agree with because even a year and a half ago, last year, everyone was going, I can't believe Russell Wilson has never won an MVP. And now, again, that was through 8 weeks, and then the season kind of changed a little bit. I don't agree with the Russell Wilson point because the second that the Broncos made that trade, we were all going, hey, they got Judy, they got Sutton, they got some weapons there. I understand it. They have Williams, who obviously got injured. I think hindsight-wise, we can look at the Russell Wilson trade and go, that's fucking stupid. But I don't think Wilson and Murray.
I mean,
even
in the moment, I thought it was a good deal for Denver. I thought it was a chance for Denver to. What's up, Corey?
I was just gonna say don't want to speak for Todd, but I think the two people on this half of the podcast were on the other side of that coin. We say it was a stupid trade. I didn't think that's not a guy I'm hitching my wagon to. He's 34 years old and hasn't done anything in the last 3 years.
Yeah,
they have.
No, I was just saying I'm not hitching my wagon to him by any means. Like I get what you're saying. I think the way that the Broncos have looked at that quarterback situation for the last couple of years is very similar to the way that the Colts have looked at the quarterback situation for the last couple of years. We had Andrew Luck, we had Peyton Manning, right? You can actually just say that for, I guess, the Colts, but I'm saying the Broncos had Peyton and won the Super Bowl with them. We still have this great culmination of talent and roster. We don't need the best quarterback. We need a quarterback. Give me Phillip Rivers. Give me Russell Wilson. I think we can get there. Give me Matt Ryan. I think we can be in the mix. And they just can't. The Broncos made that trade, gave up all of that draft capital, and then turned around and gave them a giant fucking contract.
That's
the only problem I have with it. I think going to Denver was fine, but I think they gave up too much and spent too much.
Well, the point is that you knew that was coming when you traded for, like, you weren't going to ride out his current deal.
Right. So that was, I think, even when we had this initial conversation about the trade, it was, well, what are you going to pay him next, right? Because the deal looks 110. Drew Lock or Russell Wilson,
right?
Sure.
Right.
I don't even mind the picks; it's the contract,
right? So the trade's fine, right? And on paper, to me, the trade's fine. Yeah, you give up some draft picks, you give up Noah Fant, and you give up the guy that isn't going to be your guy. All right, but I'm gonna get a guy that's at least won a Super Bowl. That's one, right, that checks some of the boxes that we've talked about for a quarterback in the NFL. He's been to the playoffs. He's won a Super Bowl. He's thrown 4 interceptions and thrown the game-winning touchdown.
Married twice.
So the
problem, Cincinnati.
The problem that then comes into this, though, is that you're talking about a team with not just a new head coach, a whole new ownership group.
Yeah.
And that's where the decision comes off the rails, is that the new ownership group says, all right, we're going to get Russell, and then we're going to make him the 3rd highest paid quarterback in the NFL at 34 years old. When he's coming off of an injury-laden season where he threw the least amount of touchdowns he's ever thrown, the least amount of yards he's ever thrown, and the most interceptions he's ever thrown. But I'm going to pay him like he's a Super Bowl winner. But don't forget, guys, we talked about this Broncos team being a potential playoff contender in the AFC, right? We talked about the AFC West being a division where we could get 3 teams that come out. We talked about this. And again, Denver was in that conversation. So everything is hindsight, right? We could all be super smart knowing that obviously we didn't know that Russell Wilson was going to completely turn upside down and it'd be an absolute shitstorm. But I think we all at least had a general idea that what happened was wrong, right? That's the big thing. And I hate that we shit on one person. I don't hate that it's Russell Wilson, but I hate that we shit on one guy as much as we do. But the problem, my point being is that, Corey, you said that the Bengals defense was the best defense in the AFC. I actually think the Broncos have the best defense in the AFC.
Fair.
Statistics back that up.
Yeah.
And
I meant contenders.
But you do all these things right, and then technically this looks right, and then it just completely fucking blows up. But the problem is now you have all this money tied in, and you have a new ownership group, and you have nowhere to go. Right, you're completely stalled out in a division where 2 teams are trying to get. One team clearly is the top contender in the AFC, but you have 2 other teams that are working their way towards getting into that position, and you've set yourself back 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, is Wilson's contract, right?
So let's dive into this contract in a little bit because
while you're pulling that up, I
got it. But
okay, go ahead.
I just want to lay out what the Broncos are going to eat if they cut Russell Wilson next year. Let's say they cut him in 2023. The dead cap hit on Russell Wilson at 35 years of age is $107 million.
Yep.
Dead cap hit of $22 million. Let's say you grind it out for 2023 and you're just deciding that that's not it. You cut him, his cap hit $35 million, 85 in dead cap. 2025, you're looking at a 37-year-old Russell Wilson. Time to move on. $55.4 million in a cap hit. At this point, there is an opt-out in that clause of 2026. But at 37 years old, if you're trying to walk away, that's a $55 million cap hit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Your 5-year plan is ruined. You're not going to make the playoffs. right? You can put out the best defense every year, but clearly that only gets you to, what are they, 3-8 or 3-9? That gets you to 3-9 in today's game.
Yeah, it's not great. My New Year's resolution is to stop thinking about Russell Wilson so much, which will be quite honestly harder to quit than heroin, because we love it so much, and I'm just like, oh, who's got that next Russell Wilson stat?
It's just so unique. It's such a weird situation. He is such a fucking enigma of a human being. The contract is just laden with just crazy shit. Like I said, $55 million at 37 years old for what? What kind of?
He sucks.
Yeah.
Touchdown to bathrooms line is still in play, chat. If you guys are gambling people, Russell Wilson still has more bathrooms in his house than he has.
You know what? Break out the fucking Aaron Rodgers contract.
All right.
He's also won one Super Bowl. He's older. He looks like shit. The Broncos were trying to get him too.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think that so his is 3 years, right? That's the one that he just extended. Was that 3 years or 2?
So I'm pulling it up right now. Just for chat, Spot Track is the best place to look at any NFL or not just NFL, any athletic contract. Yeah. So
they
this year
have my W-2 on file, I'm pretty sure.
So for 2022, the cap hit on Aaron Rodgers is $28.5 million. You're moving to the age of 40 at 2023. The cap hit $31 million. We're talking about a team that is not, as of right now, in the playoffs. There's a potential out at 2024. They'd be at 2 years, $101 million. It'd be a 24.4 dead cap hit. Dead cap on that of 24 million. In 2024 is a cap hit of $40 million. Aaron Rodgers, again, it was a 3-year extension. This is not a 3-year contract. He is under contract through 2026. So let's just say you ride out 3 years of this. He's 42 years old. You're nothing's improving here, and you want to get rid of him. $59 million in 2025 for the Green Bay Packers. That's the cap hit that they're going to take. In dead cap, it gets a little bit better for him, a little bit more bearable. $16 million.
That's never going to
the biggest heist in Wisconsin history.
Yeah, but that's just never. He's going to get that money. The thing with football, when you're getting guaranteed contracts like that, is they're paying you for past performance, right?
Yeah,
and they can, for most NFL players, they can just cut you. So, like for the Browns, for instance, the Deshaun Watson situation, they're going to restructure his contract to make it all salary cap. But if they wait until after the Lamar Jackson re-signing or the franchise tag, then he's going to get a boatload of money. And they'll just, the second that happens, turn around, restructure it, say, here's all of the guaranteed money we promised you. You get it now. And now we have this much salary cap.
So there's a couple of other quarterbacks that are kind of coming up on that period where they're going to be negotiating the terms of their contract. The team is going to be looking to extend. Obviously, Joe Burrow being in that realm. Another guy, Justin Fields, is going. I know Rob's hanging out watching the show, so I'll talk. Herbert is another guy in that. Those are the big three ones that are coming. Obviously, Tua as well. Tua is going to be
a little time, but yeah.
But moving into that realm of, all right, we're going to start. So Herbert, Tua, and Burrow finishing year 3. This is typically when those deals get done.
Yep.
Only one of those having made the playoffs. I think we're all in agreement that, the Burrow extension is impending. It's likely going to happen at the end of the season. Herbert and Tua, though, what are we thinking about that? I mean, that's Tua. I'm more willing to throw money at Tua at this point.
That's insane to me.
But you've got the injuries. You've got the injuries. That's why it's insane,
Tua
right?
Probably sees an opportunity to get a deal done this offseason. He's got
I agree.
Herbert. I think Herbert has to play another year and prove it. Prove that he's going to be worth the money.
That's not necessarily a knock on Herbert as to why I'm saying that, and I'm not necessarily I need to see more out of Herbert. That's not where I'm at. I think Tua's in a better situation from an organization standpoint. because the Chargers are likely going to be looking for a new head coach in the next 2 years. And if that's the case, you're not going to tie your new head coach up to a quarterback that he didn't pick with a massive contract. Now, that being said, there's a lot of guys banging on the door to be a head coach that would love to have Justin Herbert as their quarterback. So that's not really a huge thing to just be like, oh, darn, I have to walk into Justin Herbert as my QB. Woe is me. But I think Tua might be in a situation where he gets one first just based on the current situation. I would have to look at what Miami's books look like here moving forward. Obviously, they've made a lot of splash deals. Teron Armstead, a huge signing for them at left tackle, and obviously the deal with Tyreek Hill, bringing him on board, and Bradley Chubb as well. So there might be maybe there's a little bit too much money tied up. But Aaron, from your standpoint, you're just like, it's clearly Herbert's the better quarterback, right?
No, to me, it's the cap isn't real. Is really what it comes down to. Okay. You can pay all of these guys everything that you want. The money or the cap is going to go up in 2 years. It's not fucking real. It is in the season. Like, it's very easy to look at it and go, like, what's his fucking name? Taysom Hill. Look at Taysom Hill's contract. It's fucking stupid. It's not going to be that in a year. He's going to get money pushed to the front because they're going to go, we have this much salary cap now, so we're going to pay this all to you now, which means you still get the same guaranteed money we signed on the dotted line for, but next year now we have double the amount of salary cap. It's the same reason that you see guys every year find cap room. I don't get how it works. I do a little bit.
I'll tell you a little bit. The reason way it works is because money 2 years from now is worth more than money now. That's just money appreciates. It increases in value. You would rather take $1 million today than get, 500,000 now and 500,000 because that $1 million today is worth more in 2 years than it would be spread out. It's just, that's how money appreciates. That's just how it works.
But it doesn't for teams. It does for players. For teams, you can invest that money. Right. Exactly.
Absolutely. So that's and that again, to that point, a team would rather forego the $1 million or the X number of dollars now than spend that money later because that money is worth more.
And even if it might not even be employed by you, bitch. No, but seriously,
yeah, absolutely. A lot of interesting QB things that with free agency, this young crop is entering into their contract negotiation terms. Lamar Jackson, there's been buzz that Lamar Jackson might end up in Detroit.
No.
He's liking Detroit Lions tweets. He's been spotted here in Detroit. I'm just saying, there's buzz.
It'd be an interesting move to say the least. I think that would be the most talent they'd probably had.
Actually, you say it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna compare him with Stafford and kind of what that looked like for Detroit in the last 2 decades. Like, who's the better quarterback?
I want to sit here and watch you compare Matt Stafford and Lamar Jackson.
You can't.
Me too.
They're two different types of quarterbacks. I'm just trying to think like, who's gonna work better in that's like who would have been more successful when Calvin Johnson was there, Matt Stafford or Lamar Jackson?
Matt Stafford.
Yeah, and that's the way that I'm leaning towards this. I'm just trying to figure out how Lamar Jackson
is Calvin Johnson in Detroit right now, though.
No, I'm just trying to figure out how Lamar Jackson fits in that offense in Detroit.
I don't think he can because the offense fits around Lamar, right? You build an offense around him. You don't take your current scheme and then throw him into it and tell him to figure out a playbook. You have to take his best assets, right, which are his feet and his legs, and figure out a way to really change, because that's not Detroit's style of offense at all, right? It's a lot of single back, between the tackle, short drop passing situations for Jared Goff, and Lamar Jackson just doesn't. Work. Yeah, it just doesn't. Lamar doesn't fit into that. And
so, to your point, then, Todd, is their offense that way currently because of who they have at quarterback, though? You know what I mean? Like, is Detroit's so it's
Jared
not
Goff's not going to run for 100 yards.
So my point being is that you wouldn't from if you're Detroit, you're not going to limit yourself as to which quarterback you're going to pursue because of what your current offensive scheme is.
That wasn't my point either. I was alluding to the fact that you don't bring Detroit doesn't bring him in thinking, how do you fit now? It's a guy when you have the talent that is Lamar Jackson, because again, he's an MVP. Maybe he hasn't played well this year, but this is a guy that has played to the MVP level. The script, it goes away, and then a new script starts when you bring a guy like that in. That's my point. Sure. And that's, you can't compare a Stafford to a Lamar Jackson. It's like comparing, I don't know, like Peyton Manning to Michael Vick. They're completely different styles of quarterback. They're going to give you the same outcome. They're going to win, but it's two completely different styles of game that just different way. Yeah, they don't intertwine, so there's no parallels there. It's all different types of football.
I don't know. Give me Lamar in a dome for 8 games. I kind of like it.
Yeah. Get him the fuck out of the AFC North.
Yeah, also that.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. But
although, are you as scared of him as you used to be?
No.
I'm not.
No.
Maybe I actually would prefer the Ravens fucking pay him, to be honest.
Yeah, tie that up. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, at this point, he's with the injuries, and he's also, I think he's kind of exposed, man. He's kind of turned it into a one-trick pony a little bit.
He's flat.
Yeah,
that's my problem with Lamar Jackson.
He's flat. Playoffs.
He hasn't gotten any better. He's either not gotten any better, regressed since the MVP season. That's my problem with Lamar. He's not doing anything to become more dynamic or to be a better quarterback in the NFL. He has stayed the exact same, and he's gotten by up to this point on just being such a strong athlete that he can keep you into a game and put together a winning drive, right? But I haven't seen him do anything to make – I mean, and again, here's another – it's a Trevor Lawrence thing. Like, there's no weapons around Lamar, right? He has Mark Andrews.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, Mark Andrews is big, but I mean, they've been injury-laden at wide receiver or traded him away.
Right. So that's my problem. My problem with Lamar is I don't know. I just haven't seen him get any better. And I think that you watch guys like, Burrow and Herbert and Mahomes and Josh Allen, they just get better, right? And they become more dynamic, and they keep making plays that make you kind of scratch your head and think like, how'd they get there? How do they do these things? With Lamar, it's like, I don't watch him throw a football and think, oh my God, how did he do that? Yeah. I only feel that way when I watch him get out of the pocket and scramble and get to the first down marker in front of 5 people. And I'm like, oh shit, this guy's an incredible athlete. But I don't feel that way as an overall quarterback for him. Right. He just doesn't. He just doesn't do it for me. That's my thing with Lamar.
That's fair. The irony for me with Lamar is we're talking about all these quarterbacks, all these receivers with these other quarterbacks. The irony to me is that the fact that all of these Ravens running backs have gone down in the last 2 years. Yeah. And that's really what makes Lamar more electric, is the read option, where you have, I don't know who's going to get the ball. And then the next thing you know, it's 8 yards. J.K. Dobbins going down for this team. I don't think running back is that big of a deal for a lot of teams, but for the Ravens, it's a big deal.
Yeah,
Mark Andrews, that's your establishment.
Mark Andrews has been down the last 5-6 weeks. He is they're like an inverse of the traditional offense that you see nowadays. And that's what makes them so dynamic is Lamar's legs, like you just said. So it's not his arm, and it's not the receivers. It's the running backs that have gone down.
Yeah. Not having J.K. Dobbins has hurt them significantly. I mean, I think that you look at what he's done when he's been healthy, and obviously time and experience gets you better. But when he's healthy, he makes that offense flow, right? And for a guy who I don't even know if J.K. Dobbins has played 20 games in the NFL, I like watching him put together the performance, right? It just, you're right. I don't know. I think Lamar is just completely. I don't know. I can't.
Well, so you made a comment earlier about not evolving and not changing and to avoid being a homer here, but I'm going to talk about him and brag on him a little bit. Last year, the Bengals offense, one of the most explosive play offenses in the league, plays over 20 yards, over 30 yards, leading the league in that category. This year, defense is coming out against the Bengals. You're seeing them sitting at that too high shell where they're keeping the lid on things and not allowing those explosive plays. And now Joe Burrow has become one of the most accurate quarterbacks in that 6 to 12 yard range where he's just dicing people up. And I mean, you even saw it to end the game last week against Kansas City. T. Higgins running a slant over the top and just threading the needle right into T. Higgins' hands, making a beautiful play, or the Tyler Boyd conversion on the third down on that last touchdown drive, or whether it's that or the Chris Evans touchdown for the Bengals to take what was the game-winning touchdown there, where they're lining 3 wide receivers up over the side. Jamar Chase is actually in the backfield there, and then Chris Evans just slips underneath, and Joe Burrow's just making a short intermediate throw that ends up going for big gain. So I want to linchpin it to this real quick, and I know we've been going for a while here. Who's your MVP right now? I'm going with Jalen right now as my MVP. I said Josh Allen going in the season, but I'm going with Jalen as of right now is my MVP. Where are you guys at?
Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, that's probably the right answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, who else besides? Maybe that's the better question. Is who
Patrick
else
Mahomes?
Jalen?
Patrick Mahomes
is he's my MVP right now.
Burrow
and Joe Burrow. Yeah.
Yeah, you just listed the best odds too, right?
Right. Those are the top 3 right now. Josh Allen shortly behind that.
Josh Allen behind, and it's not out of pocket for him to win that.
No, it's not.
He was running away with it at literally, I think, minus odds after 4 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%.
But like we said earlier, the Bills just don't look the same anymore.
Absolutely.
I think if the Eagles keep doing what they're doing, I don't think it's going to even be close. I think Burrow and Mahomes can continue to play great football, but I think this is Jalen's award to lose at this point with the way that the Eagles are playing right now.
Yeah, it's got to be Jalen.
Yeah. I think that there were a lot of people that even questioned Jalen coming into the season, right? I
did,
some of us included. Yeah, we talked a lot about that. He hasn't been around, or he hasn't done enough to even put him in a conversation of being a top end quarterback. And it's kind of insane what he's been able to do with just a couple of weapons.
Yeah,
and I think the person for me on Philadelphia that should be thanking AJ Brown the most is Miles Sanders. I mean, Miles Sanders was a guy last year that who couldn't get more than 50 yards on the ground. He's almost
Devonta
a
Smith.
Rusher.
What about Devonta Smith?
Yeah. He's been up and down a lot this year. He's had a little bit of injury issues too.
He's been pretty fucking good though, man. I mean, guy.
I agree with you. I just think of, you look at Philadelphia, and obviously that's the best offensive line in the NFL. There's no gaps anywhere on that.
I think they're the most complete team, honestly.
Yeah, I agree with you because they're also that's a top 5 defense.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy, and that's also without having Robert Quinn, who they traded for. They've been doing this without him for almost the entirety of this trade.
Yep. And I don't believe he's going to be playing this week either.
I think they just put him on the IR.
Oh, did they now? Okay.
Ooh, that's big news.
Yeah. So
all right, chat. Go ahead, Todd.
No, I was just gonna say I think that obviously Philadelphia is the biggest shock for everyone.
Yeah.
But to me, Jalen Hurts is the biggest. Obviously, I sent a tweet out to you guys earlier. The Ohio State guy who I just fucking loved. I just roast that dude on Twitter all day.
Oh my God, that was
it's one of my favorite things to do. And
Yeah.
he put most improved player, which isn't an actual award in the NFL.
It's not.
For anybody that's watching at home. MIP is not an award.
Nope.
It's an accolade. But to me, it's Jalen Hurts, right? Obviously, Justin Fields is doing incredible things, which is who this guy listed, making the Ohio State point. But Jalen Hurts went from a question mark to an exclamation point this year.
You mean to Aaron's point earlier, you had a number 1 wide receiver like AJ Brown. That's
Sure.
gonna help. It's gonna help.
But he gets to show up his talent.
It's comeback player of the year, right?
Yeah, we were saying it's a made up fairy tale fucking award. It's not real. Most improved player. It's not.
They have that in NBA. There's a difference between the qualifications.
Right. I was just using the tweet that I sent you guys earlier.
Right. No, I see. Yeah.
All right.
OSU guy. Fuck.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
All right, chat. We're going to leave it there. We appreciate everybody coming out tonight. If you missed the show, don't worry. We're on Spotify, Apple Music, Podbean.
Apple
Soon to be
Podcast.
on Google, Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify machine. So we appreciate everybody being here tonight. Hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.
do some fucking math.
Sorry,
Can I just set the record straight that I thought I'm going back to the Haley Joel Osment thing because I got to clear the air on this.
Oh my god! All right.
I thought you were number one. I thought it was a joke based on like him having nothing but early success and then falling off the face of the earth. That's where my head initially.
Are we still alive? It says we're still alive.
Oh, hi guys.
Hey, Bobby, you do it.
Okay, bye guys.